It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
Six of time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday, and all of a sudden my vacation time is just done. It's over.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when that hits the fan.
And I'm sure plenty of that hit the fan while I was gone. We'll get into it.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move.
Yeah, so week off in Florida. Thoroughly enjoyed myself. I got family down there. And my oldest niece has a second kid now, so got to play with the 2-year-old and the she was a couple months old now, 2 months old. Baby girl. So that's what I was doing, and then hiking and biking and all that kind of stuff. So back now, and I come back to horrific winds and cold temperatures. So thanks a pant load, guys. You really did a great job while I was there. All right, well, now it's not all your fault entirely. While I was gone, I really did not pay attention to a whole lot of news. There's not a lot of news that happens this time of year. It really doesn't. News cycle just slows to a crawl. And a lot of people take vacations that are in the news business. So it's not even, in many cases, the B team that's getting news to you. It's the C team. At least we had some really good drone stories out there. I was looking around for the perfect drone music, and I decided this is what I was going to go with. This is not really all that hard to solve. Now, this morning, I was watching a press conference that happened sometime while I was gone, maybe over the weekend. Chuck Schumer, Democrat Senate Majority Leader, gives a press conference, and he tries to do whatever he can, passing laws and so on to do something about the drones. And I watched some press conferences from local officials in New Jersey, places like this, as they intend to get out there and do something about the drones. Once again, between politicians and the media, they make something out of this that is actually very easy to solve, but they got to get out front and appear to you like they are desperately trying to do their jobs. Well, the politicians do, and the media does. But the media, of course, needs a story. I remember what I've said to you many times before. When it comes to news media does not report actual news. They report controversy and hype. And when they cannot find it, they will create it. So this is just the perfect holiday story. What are all these drones out there? And they hype it beyond what it really needs to be. This is simple to solve. So there's a bunch of drones flying around outside of some airports and so on. And whether it's a seriously bad problem or not, just people having fun or a serious issue, we don't know the answer to that, so we go find out, right? We have technology available at our disposal, not just to track these little guys, and they're, from what I've heard, the bigger size drones, but not just to track them, but to take them down. I've watched over the years demonstrations by video, of several different types of technologies that can bring down drones. Things that fire nets, things. There's a gun that's really high tech. Basically, it looks like a gun, but it essentially you point it, pull the trigger, and it seizes control of the drone from whoever the operator is with a much stronger signal. So whoever's holding the drone gun can go ahead and bring it down and go ahead and have a look at it. In other words, there's a lot that can be done just to go catch one of these things, maybe more than one, and find out. So is this a problem or not? So I'm looking around for stories in this. Here's one that I found. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer has requested special detection systems to be deployed in New York and New Jersey after a recent drone sighting fueled anxiety among residents. And right away when I heard fueled anxiety, my thought was, this is a lot like the old War of the Worlds radio show that freaked a bunch of people out way back when. All right. Schumer told reporters, so it was a Sunday meeting I was watching, that he had made a request to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and pushed for what they call a Robin radar system. The system was initially set up to watch birds. The harmless thing. They were just tracking birds and trying to study birds. It can look 360. We can use it for drones. So he said, we've seen a lot of sightings in New York, New Jersey, Staten Island. Homeland Security Secretary said the federal government is deploying additional resources. There's no question people are seeing drones. So, okay. See, about 1 million drones are registered in the U.S. A Chinese national living in Northern California was arrested last week on suspicion of flying a drone over restricted airspace. Now, what interesting to me about that is, not surprising, but interesting. When you buy a drone today, with today's technology, there is programming in that drone that will prevent a person from flying it in restricted airspace. In other words, you load up, you start up the drone, launch it into the air, and the drone is programmed to know where the restricted airspace is, not go there. That's in the more modern drones. So if some Chinese guy was flying it in restricted airspace, that means that programming was taken out. That should tell you something. Witnesses have described a cluster of lights, saying it looked like drones hovering over a populated area, and in some cases over airports, things like that. Okay. So New York is going to get a state-of-the-art detection system. In some of these cases, though, people are saying, look, drones, and it wasn't drones. It was an airplane. Depends on what you're looking at. In some cases, people are mistaking airplanes up there for drones, and you're near an airport. There's a lot of airplanes and helicopters going back and forth. So, okay. We'll find out. And, of course, since a lot of these drones are made in China, of course, right away people are suspicious about what the Chinese are doing. So we'll see. But it just, to me, is interesting. This is actually an easy problem to solve with our technology today. Look, there's a drone, go get it, catch it, bring it down. Take a look at what we're looking at. Easy to solve. It's also interesting to me to watch the politicians and news media during a slow news cycle looking for something to talk about. And when they say the public is in a panic, well, who caused that panic? Not the public, really. In most cases, it's the politicians and the news media.
I come before you as a representative of the intergalactic union of sentient beings from all known universes and beyond. We have been observing your species for many, what you call, years.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Our study is now complete. We no longer wish to have any further contact with you.
I don't blame you.
Covering world-ending catastrophes for years to come. It's Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Find content, chat live, and listen on demand on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
Wyoming, it's Monday. All right, so there's several people already out there who are text messaging me as I'm starting off the morning here, and I'm going to let you guys decide between, I see there's Rhiannon and Fort Danger, Jim and Casper, and a few others. So I tell you what, since Rhiannon and Jim were the first people to text me this morning, I'll let you guys decide which story I should go with next. So, now I was sitting here during the break going, they're both so good. One story is, here's the headline, Wyoming, much of Wyoming, may be safe if the nation is nuked, but Cheyenne will likely be vaporized. Okay, so there's that story. If you want, I can get into that story. That's fine. Or a new strip club is set to open in a familiar Casper, Wyoming location. So, the story's I mean, two really good stories here. That most of Wyoming would survive being nuked, I doubt that. And I've talked about that before. I seriously doubt that. Or the strip club story, because, most in Wyoming, most strip clubs, and I've never been in one, just don't look at your radio that way, I have not. But when I've driven by Wyoming strip clubs, I've looked at them and thought, oh, my Lord, that building looks horrible. Why don't they bulldoze that place? Just horrible-looking buildings. So this one actually looks like it's in a pretty decent building, and that's about to open. Much of Wyoming will be safe if it's nuked. My only thought could be, well, if the prevailing winds continue to blow the way they are, if you're up in the middle of Wyoming or the western part of Wyoming, for example, you ought to be able to do just fine. Because even though the bombs go off and destroy the area, the nuclear waste, the fallout, will go blowing a different direction. And so you ought to be safe where you are from fallout it depends on what time of year the bomb goes off. But usually the winds would blow it all across the rest of the country and not where you are. And as an example, I give you the winds that we had just the past few days in Wyoming, which when I came back from beautiful, sunny Florida, I hit those winds right away. So that would probably keep you safe, and Cheyenne would be destroyed. So which story, and there's other good stories here to go for on my list of Wyoming stories, but which one to you really jumps out as the best story? Would you like to hear about Cheyenne being vaporized in a nuclear attack, or would you rather hear about a brand new strip club opening up? Now, I'm looking at the two going, Let's see. Rianne says, even bring your parents. Oh, okay. She's talking about bring Carl for a sacrifice. Okay, Carl does not get sacrificed. That's not. All right, I tell you what, I'm going to go ahead with the nuked story because I think that's the best one. No, I'm getting an answer from Rianne from Fort Danger, but let's see. The dynamics, according to Cowboy State Daily, of a nuclear tension has changed since the Cold War, and Wyoming might not take a direct hit if the bombs fly, but it's still the best to keep the fear of God into the world's, top-tier military officials say. FEMA map showing places in the United States that would supposedly be the safest during a nuclear war leaves Wyoming pretty clear, but doesn't tell the full story about how safe the Cowboy State would be. And if you're thinking, well, that's going to set off Yellowstone. Well, if they hit a bunch of bombs in Yellowstone, there might be a problem, but really, no, it wouldn't. So, okay, that might have been true decades ago that Wyoming was in big trouble, but Wyoming might not get nuked at all, according to retired Air Force Colonel Tucker Fagan. That doesn't mean that it would be easy in the aftermath of a nuclear war, but just as during the Cold War with the new defunct Soviet Union, it's best to keep letting the world's despots know that they have nothing to gain and everything to lose by going nuclear, he says. So, according to him, he's seen a map supposedly shows the safest places for a nuclear war. The problem is they rely on old war philosophy. So I'm with this one. As I take a look at the map, I would say that anybody who would take a shot at the United States, and that would be China, okay, maybe Russia, sure, but would they bother to nuke most of Wyoming? Well, no. Most of Wyoming has nothing to nuke, so you're pretty safe out there. And like I said, the prevailing winds would blow the fallout away from where you are. So the best time to get nuked is about this time of year when the prevailing winds blow all of that radiation into the other state. So you're actually pretty safe to be. You're good. Unless you live in Cheyenne. Of course, that's where they are in charge right there in Cheyenne of the thermonuclear devices. Oh, in fact, I got to put the story up. I forgot to do it. Every year I put a story up. If you drive by the Air Force Base in Cheyenne, they have several nuclear missiles, fake, on display out in front. And I always post a spoof story that the base has decorated their thermonuclear devices for Christmas. So, that's the place that will get wiped out. And there was a time way back when that people of Cheyenne were being encouraged to go ahead and build shelters, bomb shelters in their homes, underneath their homes. So if they were ever nuked, they would be able to survive the event. And you and I both know that there's absolutely no way Cheyenne is you're going to be wiped off the map. So if it ever gets to that, you're just done. But those of you who live in the western part of the state, the mid part of the state, the northern part of the state, wherever that might be, you should be pretty good during a thermal nuclear attack. Don't worry about it, because nobody cares about you. Nobody cares that you're there. I'm not trying to be a jerk about it. I'm just saying nobody cares that you're there. So nobody's going to nuke you. It's like living in South Dakota or North Dakota away from their nuclear sites. Nobody cares that you're there, so. All right, so I got the nuclear story out of the way. The next one, I'll tell you about the strip club. Look, this is Wyoming news that happened while I was gone. I'm just trying to get you guys up to date. Coming up on, speaking of that, local news that we got to take care of. After a local news update on the weather forecast, you and I get back into it again. Dawn Day's extended forecast is at 6:45. Let's wake up, Wyoming.
The only show broadcasting from a bunker under Devil's Tower. Hey, it's cold down here. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, 6 a.m. weekdays on AM 1030 and FM 95.1.
While I'm away, I did very little looking at any kind of news, but I did see this story popped up, so I saved it so I can get back to it when I got back on the air here. It's posted December 10th. Today's the 16th. This is from friend down the hallway, fellow broadcaster, he goes by DJ Nike on here. Headline: New strip club set to open this week in familiar Casper, Wyoming location. Now, when I first got to Wyoming, 16 years ago or so, it's been a while, and I was up in the Gillette area, and I drove out past a town called Rosette, and I'm sorry, Rosette, but there's this just horrible-looking building out there. And people told me, yeah, that's the strip club. Oh, really? Wow, what a dump that is. Sometime later, I was driving down I-25 to Casper, and before I got to Casper, it was just north of Casper, before I got there, there's a beat-up, rundown building on the right-hand side as I'm heading southbound toward Casper, and there's a big sign out front, and that was a strip club. Now, that one near, I think both of those are out of business now, as far as I know. Then there was, because the one in Casper is being completely redone as some other kind of a business. Oh, for you people in Cheyenne, for the longest time, you had the Green Door in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Now, every one of the places that I just mentioned had a reputation, a story about a one-legged stripper. I don't know if that's true, but everywhere I went, yeah, our place has that one-legged stripper. Is that a true story, or is that just one that works its way around Wyoming all the time? I have no idea. But the Green Door, my understanding is the owner died. The place is out of business now. So, okay. Other strip clubs in Wyoming? I don't know. You guys tell me. But here's the latest. It's been almost 2 years since Casper's last remaining gentleman's club, he says. Trust me. There's no gentleman there, but okay. Rack's nightclub permanently closed back in 2023. So the building, there's a new building here. It's a nice-looking building, kind of big. Thursday, December 12th, so today's the 16th. It's already open with new owners, management, and the name of Mile High Saloon. DJ Nike says, I had a chance to talk to the managers upcoming and about what folks can expect, and my thought is strippers. By the way, people told me the Green Door, they didn't have a pole. Attached to a wall kind of looked like a shower rod where you would hang your towel. And that's what the ladies hung on to, is what I was told there. Quote, the community was missing having one in Casper, said the owners. So its building was already up, good place to start. And this time the building doesn't look like a total dump. Give it time, though. Mile High Saloon will be open 6 p.m. to 2 p.m. 7 days a week. Manager stated there's 22 total employees, counting us, 8 people, bar staff, 4 bouncers, security, and where they get the ladies from, I don't know. See, and this is the most important question that he asked during his interview. Will there be full nudity? Mile High Saloon will be topless only. Oh, gosh, guys, sorry. So for the social media buzz alone, it does appear a large number of Casper residents are eager to have a new watering hole in their area again. So there's the story for you. So sorry, guys, it's going to be topless only. But that's what's now open. Go ahead and enjoy. And I'm tempted because as I read this, I wonder, so how many clubs like this are left open in Wyoming? Because, again, the one in Gillette, my understanding, closed a while ago. The Casper one that I was aware of closed a while ago. In fact, I think there were 2 in Casper at one point. They both closed. One outside of Casper, one north of Casper, one in Casper. Both closed. And then the Green Door, that's closed. Are there any others in Wyoming? I don't know. But okay, so where do they get the girls from? I don't know. And the one-legged stripper story is so old, it goes way back, that I'm thinking if there ever was a young lady in Wyoming that had one leg that was a stripper, I don't know that she's still around anymore to do it because it's been so many years. Would she still be doing that? If the story was ever true at all, which I don't know that it was. So, okay. That's they're already open for business. Police in the area have already been warned. So this was the big news story. As I came back to Wyoming wondering, what's the big breaking news story? And that was it. There's a lot of important issues that are coming our way in 2024, but this story got a lead on everything else in Wyoming. All right, 6:42 is the time. Don Day's extended forecast. Wake up, Wyoming.
This show contains sarcasm that some listeners may find disturbing. A sense of humor is advised. Chat with Glenn live on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
After the icebox we go, where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I'm back, and it was windy when I came back.
Yeah, it was. I was in Cheyenne as well. It was really windy down there. It was windy in Casper. We haven't had very many, 3 consecutive days.
Yeah.
Where it's just been howling. Wind.
Yes. Of course, your schedule is just before I come back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, you have to, I completely understand. It makes sense. Okay. So, anything happened while I was gone?
Well, let's see. I don't know about you, but It was busy here. I can tell you that right now.
Okay.
We had the start of the winter high school season.
Yep. Okay.
So we had a wrestling in Cheyenne, and we had all this kind of stuff going on, basketball all over the place, swimming and skiing, and they'll compete like that last week and then this weekend, and then take some time off for the holiday break, and then
back at it again.
And then I'm out of here for a few days too.
Okay, I understand that. Wait a second before I get to apparently while I was gone, I won something. And
What'd you win?
Let's put win something in air quotes.
Okay.
I think it's somebody that wants me to talk about this stuff on the air, which is why I won it.
So they're bribing you.
Yes. So let me see. There's something here, a sticker that says tornadoes. Okay. There's a tornado cup. It's actually a very good cup with a lid and a straw that comes with it. And it looks like some kind of a backpacky thing or a shirt. Yeah, there's a backpack thing sort of, and some kind of a sweatshirt or something.
You're going to talk about tornadoes?
I have no idea what this is, but I assume this was a sports team. So I was wondering if you wanted it.
Well, yeah, I'll take whatever.
Okay, because I'm definitely not going to talk about it because I have no idea who these people are.
Tornadoes.
It just says tornadoes on it. And if it is a sports team, I still don't know anything about it. So I figured you might be able to help out with that by at least you appreciate that it's some sports team.
Well, yeah, I will, but I'd have to look at it first and say,
Who are the tornadoes?
I don't know if there's any tornadoes around here.
Well,
I think there's a Warbirds hockey team in Casper. That could be them too.
Their tornado logo, I guess it looks more like a hurricane than a tornado, but I guess it can pass for a tornado.
I'm thinking maybe the Warbirds hockey team. That's my guess.
That's it, Warbirds. But are the Warbirds the tornadoes, or are they the Warbirds?
They're the Warbirds, the Casper Warbirds.
Yeah, okay, so that's not the tornadoes.
They're a junior hockey team, and that plays at the ice arena.
Okay.
So maybe that's them without seeing it.
Yes, okay. Well,
somebody help us out here, please.
I don't mind it when someone sends me stuff. That's okay, but I'm not going to promote for free, and I don't know who the tornadoes are. That's my problem. Frank, on the other hand, I will promote for free. I have no morals whatsoever.
None whatsoever. Zero. All right, the National Football League from yesterday, the Denver Broncos secured their first winning season since 2016 with a 31-13 win over Indianapolis. The Bronco offense was barely functional, with quarterback Bo Nix throwing 3 interceptions and just 130 yards, but did throw 3 TD passes. The Bronco defense was sharp. Nick Benito picked off a lateral on a double pass trick play and returned it for a touchdown. It was just a great play for the Broncos and a terrible play for the Colts. Denver is 9-5 and control their own destiny for the playoffs, and they'll meet Tennessee this week. Meanwhile, former Wyoming Cowboy star and Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen continues his MVP-type season with stellar play as the Bills beat Detroit yesterday 48-42, and the Lions have won their last 9 in a row, but the Bills are 11-3. Allen threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for 68 and 2 more TDs. What more can this guy do, really? He's the best player in pro football right now. Women's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowgirls destroyed South Dakota on the road yesterday 79-45 to get to 5-5 on the year. Allison Fertig led the way for the Cowgirls with 17 points on 7 of 13 from the field. South Dakota was awful in this game, shooting 25% from the field. Next up for UW will be a road game at Creighton tomorrow. Wyoming Cowboy basketball team was thoroughly overwhelmed by BYU on Saturday in Salt Lake City, 68-49. Obi Eggman had 21 points for the Pokes, but Kobe Newton and Dante Allen won a combined 2 of 14 from the field. Cowboys attempted 24 threes and made just 6. They will host Bellarmine University from Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday. National Finals Rodeo concluded in Las Vegas on Saturday, and the Saddle Bronc Hillsdale native and Cheyenne East High School grad Brody Kress placed 5th in the world standings with over $345,000 in earnings. He picked up $20,000 in the 10th and final round on Saturday with an 89 and also won the 7th round. Also in the Saddle Bronc, Powell's Brody Wells took 10th in the world standings with over $230,000 in earnings. In his NFR debut, he won the 2nd and 5th rounds. In the bareback, Cole Reiner out of Buffalo hit the pay window 3 times in the finals. He finished 10th in the world standings. Weston Timmerman, who was born in Casper and is the nephew of Mills native and former former world champion Kelly Timmerman, placed 4th in the average of the NFR and earned $40,000 for that. Plus, he earned money in 6 of 10 rounds. Timmerman finished 7th in the world standings with over $292,000 in earnings for the season. That's it in sports.
So we did good.
Really good.
Jeez, okay. This is
really, yeah.
A lot of money
the Wyoming contingent at the NFR finds a way to make money.
Yes, they did.
They just do.
Break it in. And then there's people at home going, oh, he made a lot of money. That means they get a good Christmas present this year.
He's got to pay their bills first.
Yeah, well,
and then we'll see what's left over. And maybe they'll get a case of beer or something
like that. Yeah, okay. Well, guy wins all that money. You think, your Christmas present should be upped at least one level.
At least,
I would think. All right.
I mean, Santa got to kick in here something, huh?
Right. Come in and get your free stuff, Frank.
Okay.
All right. Coming up on some local business, we got to take care. We're going to roll into news time after that. Let's Wake Up Wyoming. Six at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods. I'm back from vacation, hanging out in Florida. Just got here in time for the miserable windy weather.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation. For when the hits the fan.
It all depends on which side of the fan you're standing on, really.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Let's see, if you missed last hour of the program, I talked about Wyoming being safe from nuclear attack, except for Cheyenne. Cheyenne, if we're ever attacked by nukes, is done. The rest of you ought to do pretty good. You got to do that. And also, congratulations, Casper, Wyoming. You now have a brand new strip club. So we got into that. No word on the one-legged stripper story that's been going around Wyoming for decades, really. In fact, tell you what I ought to do is go look into that story, because that story's been around for a very long time, the one-legged stripper story, and find out if there's any truth to that, where that came from, because I've been hearing it for years. So we now have actually more strip clubs in Wyoming that have closed down than have opened. But at least we have a new one in Casper. So for those of you who like to partake, I'm sorry to tell you it's going to be topless only, just so you know. Although God knows what else is going to go. That's on the record, topless only. Who knows what's happening off the record. All right, at this point, I go back to pretty much a family-oriented program, PG-13. I just came across this, and I have to read through it because this is good. As far as I'm concerned, Babylon Bee has far outdone one of my favorite fake news sources of all time, The Onion News, has always been just top-notch. Babylon Bee has far surpassed them as far as satirical news goes. They just came up with this, 9 warning signs that an upcoming movie might be a woke movie. Sing along, here we go. You can do this now as soon as Trump finally gets himself into office. In fact, you can do it now. We'll do it in advance. Just anyone who tries to pressure you in any way into anything that's woke, just tell them, we got Trump now, so we don't have to. Sorry, all of that's been canceled. Oh, that's going to drive them nuts. All right, so you want to go see a movie. 9 clues that it might be woke. Number 1, the director promised a fresh take for a modern audience. Those are code words for a bad woke movie. And I find that actually is very true. It's a fresh take for a modern audience. Like the Snow White thing. You're going to screw that up. Well, okay, fine. All right. Number 2, you've been notified that you're a homophobic, racist, misogynist. If you don't like it, that's a good sign. Even if you just don't want to see, you hear what the movie's about, and I don't think that's for me, well, you're just a yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Because you're not going to go see it, you're accused of all those things. Next, there are white males in the movie, but they're all the supervillains. Or maybe they're the ones who, if not you've seen this in television commercials too. The white male is always the weak link in the chain. He's always the dumb guy. He's always the buffoon. He's the one that everybody's making fun of. He's always screwing everything up. It's got to be him. Because they can't have a masculine male hero. Not in that kind of movie. All right, next. So, if the movie has a 100% score on Rotten Tomatoes, and if the audience score is nearly 0%, that's a double sign. So let's do it, because on Rotten Tomatoes, I don't care what other people think when it comes to rating a movie. Either I like it or I don't. It's for me. Because I find we often disagree with each other. There's movies that I love that friends of mine hate and vice versa. So we each get to make our own decisions here. On Rotten Tomatoes, I do know that Rotten Tomatoes, the website, will score a movie. But then the audience gets to score the movie as well. So it's what the critics think, and it's what the public thinks. So if the critics on Rotten Tomatoes give it 100%, but the audience says 0, that's a double sign that that is a woke movie. If it doesn't star Kirk Cameron or Kevin Sorbo or Dennis Quaid, the only name I recognize in here was Dennis Quaid because I don't follow celebrities. But all right. If the movie is a remake of a beloved movie that no one ever asked for a remake of, then yep, it's woke. We have certain movies out there that they're classics. We love them. Whoever made the movie the first time made a great movie. And nobody wants it touched. They got it right the first time. Well, we have to remake it, and we'll go up to number 1 again. We have to remake this, a fresh take for a modern audience. So okay, it's a woke movie. Number 7, if David French is tweeting about how amazing it is, it's woke. I have no idea who David French is, but watch that name. If it won an Academy Award for Best Picture before it was ever announced, that's a rigged election. And we've all seen that happen. It's why I gave up on the Academy Awards many, many, many decades ago. And the fact that I say many, 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 many decades ago gives you an idea I'm getting older. And finally, if it was made in the last 5 years, it's probably a woke movie. It's okay, yeah. But again, ruining perfectly good movies. Morning, Jones. Jones is in Casper. Sustainable Development Consensus Action Plan, all disaster movies. You know, you're right about that, Jones. If it's a modern-day disaster movie, it's probably about climate change and woke. That's usually the case. And the people who cause the disaster are always the rich entrepreneurs. And government's got to jump in and try to save us all, you know. That's another woke kind of movie. Scott, morning, Scott. He says, welcome back. I hope vacation was good. It was great. Chet and Yoder wants to know if I saw any drones. No. But I did see alligators. I go down to visit my family in Florida this time every year. And that's where I was all last week. And my oldest niece had her second baby. So I got a chance to play with both kids. And the 2-year-old, who had a snotty nose the entire time, got me sick just before I left. I think that's what it is. That's what other people were saying what it was. Because I thought it was something else. They were saying the kid probably got me sick. So it was a perfect vacation anyway. Even the plane flights were really good and the weather was just top-notch the whole way. They exercised the daylights out of me. So I'm back now. I'm refreshed. I just got to finish getting over the cold that little snot-nosed kid, although he had a good time. Look, you want to have a good time, sit down and play with a 2-year-old using his toys. What's nice about that is just when the kid gets all hyperactive and out of control, you get to hand him back to mommy and leave. It's perfect.
Florida has the worst winters anywhere in the country, maybe the world. So, like, how do you figure that? I'm like, it's science. What happens up north when they get a bad winter, huh? They get a couple inches of snow, they lose some power, so what? Boo-hoo. You know what happens in South Florida when it falls below 41 degrees? The iguanas in the trees freeze up and down the trees. That's it! The iguanas go into a coma. They don't even have the decency to die. Walt Disney frozen out of the tree. What happened to you, northern boy? Oh, you have to shovel your car out of snow? Yeah, sounds horrible. Is it raining baby friggin' dinosaurs where you live? No? Then shut the heck up. It's iguana. Get it down here, pal. You can't just shovel that away like snow. They wake up, they want to fight like a drunk Irish grandfather on St. Patty's Day. It's like Sharknado, but with lizards who have switchblades and bad attitudes, all right? Give me Maine in December during a snowstorm. It sounds pleasurable.
Want to talk to Glenn? Call 888-97-WOODS or chat him on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app. This is AM 1030 K2 Radio.
21's the time, Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. I'm back from vacation morning. My name's Glenn Woods. So, okay. I was going to go on to something different. I got to go backtrack on these stories a little bit. First off, for those who missed it earlier, I did a story on a new strip club set to open actually it just did on the 12th of this month in Casper, Wyoming. And I went through other strip clubs that have closed. I know there was one in Gillette. Hey, Gillette, I think that one, out in Rosette actually closed, right? There was one that was north of Casper off the interstate, and I believe that was closed and somebody's redone the building. I've seen it when I drive by the interstate, but it's not a strip club anymore. The Green Door in Cheyenne has closed after the owner died. That was open for a very long time, many years. In fact, they still have a sign up there from the 70s about go-go dancers. To give you an idea how old it is. Go-go dancers. All right. So Casper had a strip club. It had closed in 2023. Now, if you're wondering, how do I know so much about strip clubs? It's in the story, okay? Don't look at your radio that way. I just know, don't know. It's in the story. That's how I know. I swear. So, and this was done by DJ Nike. You'll have to ask him how he knows so much about it because he wrote the story. But then, since this new strip club, I'm sorry, guys, it's a nice-looking building. I'm sorry, guys, it's topless only, so they say. But then there was this story. Casper, Wyoming is Wyoming's drunkest city. Okay. At this point, between the new strip club and being Wyoming's drunkest city, Rock Springs is going, what are we, a joke to you? I'm thinking the city of Rock Springs has got to catch up on their reputation a little bit here. So let me see. The story says, probably not the badge Casper wants, but many breweries, as we have, it might be true. 24/7 Tempo crunched the numbers. That's a website. And 19% of adults in Casper drink excessively. Only 19%? No, okay. It seems like a significant number, but if you look at the adults in South Colorado, their drunkest city has even a more significant number. That's about 22%. North Wyoming, Montana, drunkest. Missoula, Montana, 24.9% drink excessively. North Dakota, Rapid City, 23.1%, and South Dakota, 21.1%. Lewiston, Idaho, 20.3%. So it just kind of goes numbers all over the place, but here in Wyoming, just about 19% of the people, it says, drink excessively. And then it goes and breaks it all down according to, say, what would be the drunkest? Drunkest I can see is in Wisconsin at 27.4% of the people saying that they drink excessively. But then we still have the brand new strip club thing that has opened up in, hello, Wolfie. Wolfie's in camping. He says, welcome back. I appreciate that. It was a very relaxing vacation. So, okay, Casper, you're outdoing Rock Springs when it comes to deviant behavior. Congratulations. Just tossing that out there. All right. Completely different story. It was, to me, really interesting when I came back and found that ABC News had to cough up $16 million and an apology to settle the Trump defamation lawsuit. ABC News has agreed to contribute $15 million to Donald Trump's presidential foundation. That's got to kill them. Or museum to settle a defamation lawsuit filed by the president-elect against the network and its anchor, George Snuffleupagus. I know properly pronounced Stephanopoulos, but I've never said it that way throughout all the years that he's been a broadcaster. Snuffleupagus said on the air earlier this year that the president-elect had been found civilly liable for raping writer E. Jean Carroll. A federal jury determined Trump was liable for sexual abuse. So this is not a legal, he was not legally in a court of law found guilty of this. This was a private lawsuit, so it had nothing to do with criminal charges against him. Along with the contribution, ABC will pay $1 million in legal fees to Trump lawyers. And some of that, by the way, $1 million of it comes out of the pocket of George Snuffleupagus. And he is going to hate writing that check. You know he's going to hate that. In addition, Disney-owned ABC News will post a note on its website expressing regret over Snuffleupagus' inaccurate statements. which was made during the March 10th segment of This Week, according to a court filing made public on Saturday. And I used to watch This Week with David Brinkley way back when. When they turned it over to Snuffleupagus, sorry, I couldn't watch it anymore. So, let me see. Hugh Hewitt had something to say about it, and yeah, okay. So that's going to really kill them to have to write those checks, especially where they have to send the money to. And nothing was said about it on This Week with George Snuffleupagus over the weekend. He didn't make any comment. They're just quietly paying the money and leaving it be. Don't expect this report to be filed by any other major news outlets. Not really. They don't want to talk about it. Because then they would have to admit that basically they lied again. You know. Morning, Mike. Mike is in Wheatland. He says, "Hi, Glenn. I will definitely be patronizing the New Casper Strip Club." He says, "I'm a big believer in helping out single moms trying to make a living in the performing arts." Okay. So there's one anyway. And I'm sure, ladies, Mike will tip generously. I'm sure he will. He has absolutely nothing better to do with his life. So let me know, Mike, by the way, if they have a one-legged stripper there, which I think my theory has been the Wyoming one-legged stripper story has been around for so long that if it was ever true, then she must have been out of the business a long time ago. She would have aged out. So I don't think that if she ever existed that she would still be a stripper there anymore, unless she took a management position. Okay, so Mike, let me know what you find there. I don't need details, just the basics, and I'll pass it along to the audience here. Coming up on, it's good to be back. Coming up on 7:30, local news coming your way after local news update on the weather forecast. You and I get back into it. Oh, Don Day and I at 7:45 will talk about the weather for this entire week. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Got something to say to Glenn? Use the chat on the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app and get your opinions straight to the studio with K2 Radio.
7:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. It's a little breezy. Don Day will be on 7:45 to talk with me live about what the weather forecast is doing for the rest of the week. Okay, so just remembered, and I usually post this December 1st, but I just saw, I didn't do it this year. I got to do it again. There's a satirical story that I post, and I know this is going to come as a shock to you, but when I post a story on the Wake Up Wyoming page, sometimes it's satire. Sometimes it's true. Sometimes you can't quite tell. You got to think about it for a bit. Headline, Annual Decorating of Wyoming's Thermonuclear Devices. I posted this some years ago. And the commander of the base at the time, down there in Cheyenne, F.E. Warren Air Force Base, just thought it was hysterical. Now, we've been through several commanders since then, but the original guy thought it was just absolutely hysterical. So what I wrote way back then was, it's that time of year again. Everyone's bringing out their Christmas decorations. What better way to say joy to the world than F.E. Warren Air Force Base, Cheyenne, Wyoming, their annual decorating of the nation's thermonuclear devices. Imagine a thermonuclear missile decorated in garland and lights with a stocking cap as a topper, roaring into the atmosphere towards some dictatorship. It's the gift that keeps on giving. Millions of years for the radiation to finally reach its half-life, which means whatever place we nuke will be glowing like Christmas lights for millions of years. Cheyenne's F.E. Warren Air Force Base has decorated its many underground missiles with the most festive and delightful holiday cheer anyone can imagine. And here's a quote. Funny how the lights glow on their own, said one lieutenant, spokesperson for the holiday festivities. We don't even have to plug them in. I mean, so in a sense, you could say we're going green this Christmas. There's kind of a weird bluish-green pulsating thing that happens, but it's a thermonuclear device, so what do you expect? Should we have to launch one of these at any weird, short little fat dictators with funny haircuts, no name mentioned, I hope they imagine Santa has dropped a big Christmas tree from his sleigh right in the middle of their city. So this is not only, this is a change they make just for Christmas. And apparently this is off the record. The launch code has been changed to something festive sounding. No telling what that means, but apparently the code is a repetitive, loud code that sort of sounds like Deck the Halls or something like that when they punch the key code in order to fire a nuclear missile. The folks at F.E. Warren Air Force Base would also, like any nation that they might have to fire at, to remember they don't expect anything back. I mean, look, Christmas is for giving, not getting, said Lieutenant Struckmeyer with a smirk on his face and a twinkle in his eye. So, yeah, we have all of our thermonuclear devices ready to go at F.E. Warren Air Force Base. And since I've been posting this story every year at the same time for years, what I've always wanted to see, for those of you who are familiar with this, when you're on I-25 and you drive by F.E. Warren Air Force Base, you see those fake nuclear missiles they have out front of the base to show what they have in stock, basically, right? And I've always wanted them to decorate those for Christmas. They'll never do it, but can you imagine putting a nice stocking cap on top of one of those, wrapping it in some green with some lights and stuff like that, and then just making it glow like it was actually something, nuclear inside it, making those lights glow? I think it would be tremendous. I think people who have a sense of humor, which is most of Wyoming especially, would look at it, think about it for a moment, and then just laugh hysterically. But then there would always be those buzzkills. I can't believe you did something like that with your... That's why, and I think most of you would agree, that I should never have a job where I'm in charge of anything like thermonuclear devices, because I would actually do something like that. Even the fake ones out in front of the base. If I worked for those of you who work at F.E. Warren, if I worked with you, I would be demoted, as I wouldn't shut up about it. Come on, I would tell the base commander over and over again, come on. Just this one year, let's decorate at least the fake missiles out front. Come on, let's get into the holiday spirit with that. Now, since they're never going to do it, for those people, and I know some people who do live right across the street from F.E. Warren Air Force Base, you could do that in your front yard. You don't have to have them as big as those missiles, but you understand what I'm saying. Why the hell not? 742, wake up.
Wake up Juan Woods on K2 Radio. Join the conversation at 888-97-WOODS.
7:45 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to talk to Don Day from Day Weather. Don, the weather down in Florida it was perfect. Gorgeous.
Well, good. You got your order in early, so I was able to pull a few strings.
Then I came back, and wow, it's been howling up here while I've been gone.
Yeah, just in time for you. Welcome home.
Yes. Okay, I appreciate that, yeah. So, does the howling continue for a few more days? Usually
it's off and on. We have a Pacific wave train where these small systems are coming off the Pacific, and these are known for two things. One is, as they come through, they do produce snow in the mountains. So, good news for the snowpack and for folks who want to go play in the snow in the high country. The bad news is, it brings a lot of wind to the low elevations and especially the wind-prone areas. Boy, we saw that yesterday. And so with these waves still coming, another one arriving tonight and tomorrow, we're going to have some windy periods. And tonight and tomorrow, we're going to see some snow in the high country again. So we're just in the windy season, Glenn. We we did have a stretch there for a good part of early December. We really didn't have much. So I know this doesn't soften the blow for a lot of folks who were not happy with the weather this weekend and the wind. Honestly, the wind hasn't been bad this winter so far.
Okay. Well, a lot of things haven't been bad. There's the bad, if you want to call it bad, because I know we need the wet, but a lot of the so-called bad weather has been all around us. We've been in this bubble.
We have been in a bubble. I call it the donut hole. I mean, there's a ring around a good part of Wyoming where there's been a lot of weather. And, that the last few weeks it's been in the northern plains and the Great Lakes. And then earlier this fall, we had the big storms that hit Colorado and New Mexico. And we've had some very stormy weather in the Pacific Northwest. But we're just in that donut hole where systems are going around and not through.
Okay. So at some point, though, I'm still waiting for that to change and we get into real winter.
Yeah, I think we're going to see that here, especially starting Christmas week and then the week after New Year's. We're going to continue with these Pacific waves coming through, but they'll be a little bigger. They'll get a little bit stronger, and I do think a more wintry pattern is going to settle in during that time frame. But for this week, it's really more of the same. Windy at times. Occasional snow up into the high country. If we get snow on the plains, it's not much to write home about.
All right. Thank you, Don. Dawn day with day weather. So at least I got the nice vacation in Florida over there. But yeah, even with the wind coming and going, it's really not all that bad. Off we go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. Frank, I found the perfect gift to get you. And I don't expect it. I would say, Frank, don't expect to actually get this gift. Hang on a second. A second here. Okay, so I got that, there, that. Okay. I haven't had to do this one in a long time, but...
Frank Gambino, Studio 6. Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
And there he goes. He's Frank going Gambino, in to sit down.
Here I am.
Frank Gambino, Studio 6.
So, okay.
Sorry about that.
Right. So
I was so immersed in, today's activities.
Yes, yeah. But so there, at the last minute, he comes sliding. Well, you do have a lot going on.
Yeah.
I found a perfect gift for you for Christmas.
Oh, thank you.
And I'm not going to get it for you, though.
Why?
There are two reasons. One, you were late.
Two?
Yeah, it's too expensive. I'm not going to spend $100 on you.
Come on.
You
can make payments.
Well, now, this is a nice-looking wall unit that you hang up.
Okay.
Someone has done a cutout of the United States.
Right.
There are holes in the cutout of the United States. Each hole represents a major baseball stadium.
Excellent.
So what you do is whenever you visit one of those stadiums...
You put a thumbtack in there.
No. This is a decorative little peg of that team.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so you get to say, I saw this game at this stadium. I think it's a really cool gift for those people. How many stadiums have you seen games at?
Probably maybe 12, 13, 14, something like that, maybe.
How many stadiums are there?
31.
Yeah, okay. So you see, you got some catching up to do.
Yeah. I mean, I can't go everywhere, but, did you find that at Goodwill?
No, but you would, look, if I'm going to go shopping for Christmas for you, Frank, it will be at Goodwill.
Thank you, because there are bargains there that you don't really know about until you look.
For some reason, this popped up on my social media, on my Facebook account, which I assumed it only popped up there because you wanted it for Christmas and you tagged me.
I'm that technically savvy to put those subliminal messages to you.
Okay, yeah.
Now, cash is another one.
Right, cash.
Legal tender.
Don't bother sending me a gift. Just go ahead and send me cash.
Yes.
Yeah, I came up with something that I did a while ago. You know those people, you buy them a gift and they always want the receipt so they can return it for what they really wanted?
Yeah.
For those people who are habitual at that, they just get gift cards for me.
Well, yeah, that solves everything. Then you get what you want, and there's no complaining.
Yeah,
and it eliminates re-gifting.
Oh yeah, it certainly does. Yeah. Now I will say this though: there are some people, nice people. I like these people, and they got me presents, and I could tell when when you get that, it's not wrapped. It's in one of those bags, decorative bags.
Yeah.
And I reach to the bottom of the bag and I pull the item out, and I can tell they were thinking of me, but they didn't know what to get me. So this is some dollar store trinket. And my answer to that is, well, thank you very much for the bag. I won't have to wrap the gift for so-and-so that I was getting.
Oh, that's terrible. but it is bright. National Football League from yesterday, the Denver Broncos secured their first winning season since 2016 with a 31-13 win over Indianapolis. The Bronco offense barely functional as quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 interceptions and just 130 yards, but did throw 3 TD passes. Bronco defense was sharp. Nick Benito picked off a lateral on a double pass trick play and returned it for a touchdown. That was a terrible play by the Colts and a great play by the Broncos. Denver 9-5. They control their own destiny for the playoffs. They'll meet Tennessee this week. Meanwhile, former Wyoming Cowboys star and Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen continues his MVP-type season with stellar play as the Bills beat Detroit yesterday 48-42, and the Lions have won their last 9 in a row. The Bills are 11-3. Allen threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns and ran for 68 and 2 more TDs. What more can this guy do? He's the best player in pro football right now. Women's college basketball from yesterday. The Wyoming Cowgirls destroyed South Dakota on the road 79-45 to get to 5-5 on the year. Douglas High School grad Allison Ferdig led the way for the Cowgirls with 17 points on 7 of 13 from the field. South Dakota was just awful in this game, shooting 25% from the field. Next up for UW, a road game at Creighton tomorrow in Omaha. Wyoming Cowboy basketball team was overwhelmed by BYU on Saturday in Salt Lake City. Final there 68-49. Obi Eggman had 21 points for the Pokes, but Kobe Newton and Dante Allen went a combined 2 of 14 from the field. Cowboys attempted 24 three-pointers and made just 6. They'll host Bellarmine University from Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday. National Finals Rodeo concluded in Las Vegas on Saturday in the Saddle Bronc. Hillsdale native and Cheyenne High School grad Brody Crest placed 5th in the world standings with over $345,000 in earnings. He picked up $20,000 in the 10th and final run on Saturday with an 89 and also won the 7th round. Also in the Saddle Bronc, Powell's Brody Wells took 10th in the world standings this year with over $230,000 in earnings. In his NFR debut, he won the 2nd and the 5th rounds. And the bareback Cole Reiner out of Buffalo hit the pay window 3 times in the finals. He finished 10th in the world standings. Weston Timmerman, who was born in Casper, is the nephew of Mills native and former world champion bareback rider Kelly Timmerman, placed 4th in the average of the NFR and earned $40,000 for that. Plus, he earned money in 6 of 10 rounds, finishing 7th in the world standings with over $292,000 in earnings for the season. That's it in sports.
I got a old newspaper clipping here, Frank. Local stories are always looking for that local news thing. And a lot of times it's a small story, but it matters to the community.
Yeah.
This is the owner of the local crematorium. He is all excited because he was gifted by the city a defibrillator.
Oh, okay. So this is obviously not for the people who are being burned, but this is for the people who are doing the burning.
I assume so. That's the best I can do, Frank.
Yeah, that's the best I can do, too.
Assume. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Frank. No, that's an actual news story. Crematorium gets defibrillator. That's an actual, I'm looking at it right here. The guy's so proud of it. Yeah. All right. Coming up on some local business, news time, update on the weather forecast, Wake Up Wyoming. 8:06 at the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods, back live after a week's vacation, feeling a whole lot better except for the little bit of a cold that my niece's firstborn gave me. I think that's how I got it, although it might have been something else. We're debating it.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation. For when that hits the fan.
Remember, it's always a matter of which side of the fan you're standing on.
Warning. This show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
I just thought of something before I came on the air moments ago. Started the program 6 o'clock this morning, noting that New Jersey has a drone problem. You've seen this in the news. New York has a drone problem. You've seen it in the news. And some other places as well. Wyoming, who, by the way, we are the most well-armed state, we do not have a drone problem. Coincidence? I think not. Drones are expensive. And I think whoever's flying drones around, nobody's doing anything illegal, by the way. Where they're flying the drones are perfectly legal, although people kind of wonder, because it seems a little suspicious also what they're near. But still, while lawmakers are trying to figure out what to do, I want to point out those states who have heavy gun control laws are having a drone problem. States like Wyoming, where you can pretty much buy whatever kind of gun you want, anytime you want, carry it however you want, we don't have a drone problem. Is it just me? Or did you notice that too? All right, so push that aside. What else? For those who didn't join me earlier this morning, I just want to point out we've gone through the story. Congratulations, Casper. You have a new strip club. Congratulations on that. And Cheyenne, F.E. Warren Air Force Base has officially for the year decorated their thermonuclear devices, which they don't have to plug in. The lights just seem to glow strangely all on their own. So there's that. Got that out of the way. Okay. Just making sure I clear all the news stories that have been happening while I was gone. Wyoming Senator Barrasso remarks on electric vehicle handout, which is something that I would like to see just go away. But let's see what the story says. Last Wednesday, December 11th, Senator Barrasso spoke on the Senate floor calling for a repeal of the Democrats' $75,000 vehicle handout, which I would agree with. If you go to buy a vehicle that's an internal combustion engine, do you get $7,500 from the federal government for that? You don't, do you? Well, so I don't think anybody else should either. Whatever vehicle you're buying, you shouldn't get some kind of a handout like that. These things are subsidized to produce and then subsidized again when they're sold. So, and then there's tax breaks on top of that. But okay, and they still don't sell well. To listen to the remarks, let's see, I do have that. Okay, I do have to listen to the remarks, scroll down. Okay, I'm waiting for that to load up so I can go ahead and play for you guys, because apparently the whole story here has Senator Barrasso's remarks in it, which are worth listening to. But yeah, that's something I've been complaining about for a good long time. It's completely unfair. I really do believe it is completely unfair that anybody who does not want an electric vehicle has to go ahead and pay full price for that vehicle. If you're going to go buy the internal combustion engine, right? Then it's the problem of your government not having the money to do this. And we have, as a country, put out billions upon billions of dollars. Every single year, we've put out billions of dollars to try to kickstart this electric vehicle industry. In fact, your country, America, has spent billions of dollars to try and get electric charging stations. And the last I heard, we only had put up like 7 charging stations. It wasn't all that much. But okay. The story says, and this is quoting Senator Barrasso, the new Senate Republican majority begins January 3rd, 2025. So our day one starts in 3 weeks. It's that soon, folks. Republicans will enter the next Congress with a long fix list for the American people. Senator Barrasso says at the top of this list is an agenda that lowers costs and restores American energy dominance. Prices today, we know, are 20% higher than they were 4 years ago. And just this morning, we learned that once again, prices will be going up in November. Senator Barrasso says, and we know the culprits. No, he's right. We know the culprits. The problem behind the high prices, wasteful Washington spending, and we've seen a lot of this over the past 4 years. The other reason, of course, Democrats throttling American energy production. Republicans are going to fix this fiscal insanity that's happened over the past 4 years will put Americans, not Washington bureaucrats, back in the driver's seat. We're going to start by repealing the Biden car bribe, as Senator Barrasso calls it. This is something President Trump strongly supports. He is supporting that, and we are promoting it. We're asking for it. We campaigned on it. Again, getting rid of that $7,500 subsidy to buy an electric vehicle. Senator Barrasso says it is an attempt by Democrats to bribe the American people to go along with their unpopular climate fantasy. Which, correct. Okay, so today there are some revised estimates that things have ballooned way over the $300 billion originally. That's $393 billion now. That's for vehicles that most Americans don't want, and despite all the subsidies, still can't afford all of that. Less than 10% of new car sales in America last year were electric vehicles. And by the way, I can add to what the senator is saying, and over half of those people who bought electric vehicles would not buy another one. The CEO of Ford says they're projected to lose $5 billion this year in the EV market. Chrysler is also in the ditch. Senator says yet last week it won $7.5 billion loan in addition from the Biden administration over $7.5 billion for something that's failing, which is what your government does. They just keep dumping money into things that's failing. Now, on that note, I do have, let's see, I'll call it up here. There's a list of things that the Trump administration wants to get rid of when it comes to, well, that whole DOGE thing, which is, it looks like DOGE, but with an E at the end, which is just getting rid of one obnoxious government bureaucratic agency after the next. If you could make a list, what would you put at the top of that list? Well, I have a short list for you, which we'll take a look at next.
My back hurts from carrying the weight of being my mom's most badass child.
You asked for an expert. We didn't have the budget for that. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
So, okay. Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy, which, by the way, we have to change his name. That's just horrible. No one should be named Elon. I mean, who would do that to a kid? But anyway, Elon and Vivek are getting together to do this DOGE thing, which looks like Dodge, but with an E at the end of it. And they want to slash about $2 trillion from federal spending, which I hope that they do. So they have a short list. They've revised it and re-released it. IRS simplified the tax code, which, by the way, I monitor all sorts of different news sites. I even now go to MSNBC just to see what they're doing. MSNBC wants to convince people that they're trying to make the tax code more complicated for the American people. No, they want to simplify the U.S. tax code. It says here there's, from the Department of Government Efficiency, in 1955, there was less than 1.5 million words in the U.S. tax code. Now there's 16 million words. Because of its complexity, Americans collectively spend about 6.5 billion hours preparing and filing their taxes every year. This has to be simplified. And I would say with businesses, too, by the way. The Department of Defense, Pentagon's chronic audit failings. Yeah, we audit the Pentagon on a regular basis, and they fail constantly. I'm all for funding defense, but we also need to make sure that they do this in a way that makes sense. I mean, they really need to be penny pitchers at the Pentagon. But if you worked in the military, you know. So, from the Department of Government Efficiency, Pentagon can't fully account for $824 billion. That's a huge, they cannot account for $824 billion. $236 billion in improper payments to federal programs in 2023. $200 billion in pandemic relief went to fraud, waste, and abuse. The U.S. has failed to track $1 billion in Ukrainian aid. Also, from Elon Musk, it sounds like a job for DOGE. He says Pentagon failed 7 audits in a row. The nation's largest government agency is unable to fully account for over $824 billion. 824. You're closing in on $1 trillion there. They don't even know where billions of taxpayer money is going. Think about that. Let's see. Congress $516 billion authorized for expired programs. Now this is Congress for you. U.S. Congress in 2024 provided $516 billion in programs whose authorizations previously expired under federal law, and yet they keep sending money to these programs. There's nearly $320 billion of that, $516 billion, expired more than a decade ago. So let's do this again. In 2024, Congress, I blame both parties for this, by the way, sent out $516 billion in programs that have expired, $320 billion of that programs that expired a decade or more ago, and they keep funding it. You wonder why, and I don't think you do wonder why. I don't trust these people to fix anything. Every time someone sees a problem, whether it's real or imagined, and they want to fix a problem, anytime, they'll turn and say, well, government needs to. Why would you want these people to fix anything? Obviously, they don't know what they're doing here. All right. Federal workforce, ending government employees working from home option. We talked about that before I went on vacation. Most federal workers don't physically show up. Yet the cost of maintaining and providing government offices is $15 billion a year. Not counting billions more spent in office furnishing, government owns 7,967 vacant buildings. Your federal government owns 7,967 vacant buildings. And they keep the electricity running and all of that in there. Okay. Musk separately pointed to a report from Senator Joni Ernst indicating if you exclude security guards and maintenance personnel, the number of government workers who show up in person and do 40 hours a work week is 1%. Think about that. We're going to exclude people like maintenance workers and security. I don't know what the security is there for. They're not securing anybody. Nobody's there. But we have security guards to protect nobody. So that means about 1% of federal government employees actually show up to the office. One thing Elon Musk wants to do is make it mandatory that they all show up, and a good number of them would just quit because they don't want to physically show up for work. All right, see, next one here. Let's see, 8 maintenance worker, 40 hours. Okay. Hang on, the whole website just jumped on me here. I'm not done with you yet. Okay, Medicare and Medicaid benefits, they want to protect that. Federal losses. Okay, so federal losses through fraud and mismanagement. Modernizing and finding cost-effective government IT systems. Oh, okay, now, in case you didn't know, a lot of government computers are way out of date. I mean, way, way, way out of date. And we can't seem to get them to get rid of them. If you got more modern computer systems, things would be a lot more efficient. Let's see. American once prided itself on building great projects. Now those projects are hampered by bureaucracy and overregulation. It will take almost 25 years to permit and construct the reservoir project in Colorado. So if you take a look at the whole reservoir project in Colorado, that was actually done in rather short period of time. But to try to get that done today. Really, try to get that same project done today, and it would take decades to get it done. Okay. Say National Institutes of Health returning money to the taxpayers in response to DOGE posting in 2023. National Institutes of Health spent $759 million on workforce diversity outreach, over $611,000 on evaluating microaggressions, along with Latinx individuals and obesity as well. And another $87,944 on the role of, I don't even know what this is. I I can't even read the words. Okay, I'm trying to read what this is, but I can't even pronounce the words. But it's nothing that would concern any of us anyway. You see this is woke nonsense that they're spending a ton of money on. So it's not that I know how this will be reported. If they start messing with Medicare and Medicaid in any way, they're trying to get rid of Medicare and Medicaid. No, they're not. They're trying to make the system work in a way that's actually efficient by getting rid of a lot of this woke nonsense. A lot of you will like this. Here's an easy one, writes Elon Musk. Eliminate foreign aid. It's taking money from poor and middle class in the U.S. and giving it to rich people in poor countries. Now, that has got to be about the best way I've ever heard that explained. Think of it that way. You're taking money that was earmarked for poor people in America, and you're sending it to rich people in poor countries. Thank you, Elon Musk. That has got to be about the best way I've ever heard that explained. It's so simple. And that's exactly what's happening. So, yes, there's a lot of foreign aid that we can just say, we're not doing that anymore. Now, in getting rid of a lot of this waste, boy, are you going to hear Washington, D.C. scream, and you're going to hear the news media scream and lie, and they will lie. To me, that, this is one of the reasons I love it. Besides the fact that if they do this, we can actually get our government back on track. Lean, mean, and actually getting things done for a change instead of mired in bureaucracy. But I also like it because I have show prep available to me for the next 4 years at least. So my job is done. Coming up on some local news that we have to take care of and an update on the weather forecast. Then you and I get back into it again. So wake up, Wyoming.
Live and local, all across Wyoming. Wake up, Wyoming, with Glenn Woods on K2 Radio. Join in at 888-97-WOODS or the Wake Up Wyoming mobile app.
8:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming, and sitting in the studio with me is
Ross Schriftman.
And Rolf Schriftman, whose name I'm always slurring whenever I say this. You were running for a political office a while ago.
Yeah, I ran for Casper City Council.
And that went how?
I didn't win.
But you are still active.
I am.
Okay. And you came into the station this morning because apparently there's some things, and this can be very typical. I'll mention Gillette, Wyoming has done the same thing I've noticed over the years, and some other city councils around Wyoming. There's things that the voters reject, and yet they still are determined to get it done.
Absolutely.
Okay, so in this case, what are they trying to get done that we turned down?
Well, in the November election, Casper citizens had the choice of voting yes on 8 different projects to raise the sales tax to another 1%. It's 1% special project tax.
Okay.
4 were approved, 4 were rejected. Now they're talking about funding the 4 that were rejected, when before they were saying they didn't have the money in the $200 million budget to pay for those projects.
Right.
So tomorrow night at the council meeting, the pre-meeting meeting, which is a meeting, at 5 o'clock, they're talking about expanding the ice arena. And according to the memorandum, they've already held, and this is before the election, $3 million to help the project. Now, individuals and organization is raising money, they're going to be paying for most of it. But it's a $20 million project to expand the facility so they can have another sheet of ice.
Right. And I did have some people who were in favor of that sheet of ice come in here to explain what they wanted to do. Just so people don't get a wrong idea, another sheet of ice doesn't mean ice on top of the ice. It means expanding the facility out.
Exactly.
To the side.
Yes, yeah.
To allow more people to come in.
And the vote was 9,000 in favor and 13,000 against.
Right.
Now, what they're trying to say now, they're twisting it a little bit. They're saying, well, it doesn't mean people don't want it. They just didn't want to raise the sales tax to pay for it.
Okay.
But if they had the money in the budget before, why did they ask the taxpayers for that, to raise that?
Okay. Is this the only project they're doing this to, or is it?
No, they actually had a presentation from the finance staff of possible other revenue sources for the other projects that were not approved.
Okay. Hogadon would be one of them.
The lift, this quad lift, fast pitch softball,
right.
Expansion of the rec center. So the voters approved what I would consider priorities. The fire station, metro animal shelter needs some improvement, but I've got some ideas on that. And the 911 system. Mm-hmm. And then the band shell at Washington Park, which needs repair.
Okay. Some of those things I looked at and I thought, well, you want to fix your 911 system. That seems to make sense. I wondered about the price tag of it, though. Does it really cost that much to fix a 911 system?
Yeah, and I don't know about that. I've been having a lot of people in my Department of Government Efficiency talk to me about the metro, the $7 million, and they think it can be done for a lot less. A kind of a rectangle building. Yeah. If I was an abused dog, my main concern wouldn't be how fancy the building was. It would be, is it safe, warm, is there food, and a place to poop?
Yes. Well, everybody needs a good place to poop.
Absolutely.
Safely. Yes. Okay. So when are they holding, again, let's go through the meetings on this, because I know they have to go through a series of votes in order to be able to approve something like this, and the public needs to be able to respond to it.
Well, tomorrow night at 5 o'clock at City Hall, they have what's called a pre-meeting meeting, and some of the items are direction, so they have a presentation to them by the staff, by the manager, and then they say, well, whether we move forward or what. I don't know that they'd need a public hearing, but they obviously, if they go forward, they're going to need a request for proposal, contractors, that kind of thing.
Okay. Because I thought in order to spend that kind of money, they would have to get something from the public. At least it's a open public meeting where people can bring in their input, right?
You would think so. Yeah. I mean, some nights I'm the only one that gets up and speaks at council meeting that isn't standing there asking for money. Yeah. So I've got some ideas that actually would save the city some money.
Okay. Which, by the way, is another problem for another time that I do see at a lot of city council meetings all over the country. And people I've talked to in city councils all over the country say the biggest problem is people are constantly coming to them asking for money. Very rarely, if ever, does someone come and say, please don't spend that money.
Right. That's exactly right.
Yeah. So
there's no benefit, personal benefit to me to go to a council meeting and say, gee, I got an idea that could save you some money. Yeah. Other than a little less taxes on my part.
Okay. Well, now, there was a case, and this is what I brought up before, some years ago, Gillette, Wyoming. They wanted to raise a tax because they needed good, clean water that would have to come from another county because the water in Gillette was not a good quality. So let's go ahead and bring it. And it was called the Madison Pipeline Project. And they were able to raise a tax, and people agreed to it. And after this tax was raised for a time to get the Madison project going, as soon as the taxpayers approved that, suddenly they drop a whole pile of money to buy a big plot of land so they can open up this brand new park, which they call the Field of Dreams. And everybody started screaming, hold on a minute. Why did you raise our taxes when you had all of this money sitting over here that you could have just grabbed for that water project?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. And I've mentioned the fact that the state treasurer has $30 billion in investments. And when they look at the list of revenue sources, they don't talk about the state grants that they could get and the money that they've already have from other sources. They always want to go for more, and when they don't get it, all of a sudden they find the money.
Yeah. Which they had in the first place, which is one of the things we're trying to do is make sure they don't get more from us because Apparently they have enough. And then there's also a bunch of money that they have in reserves, I know, in case of rainy day and so on, which they're willing to dip in at times for projects like this. So is there anywhere they can go to find out more information besides what you're telling me right now?
Come to the council meetings. That's always important. Speak if you can, if you want to, or just attend. The website's easy to do, and in fact, they're updating it. City of Casper. Mm-hmm. And again, it's Tuesday night, 5 o'clock for the pre-meeting and 6 o'clock for the general meeting. The general meeting in the beginning, you have a chance to comment.
Okay. How long would it take them to push something like this through?
If they have to have a public hearing, then they have to read it 3 different meetings.
Right.
But if they just give direction and say, go ahead, they'll just go do it. And they'll put out the request for the contract, approve the contract at the next meeting, and then just proceed with the program.
Okay. So there's a limited amount of time to act here. I'd say go to the city website to look up for more information between now and then. But then, attend the meeting. And if you got a chance to get up and speak, go ahead and do so. And let's see what good that does. Well, I appreciate you coming in and telling us this, because without that, who would have known?
There you go.
All right, thank you. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Serious takes on local politics, or something like that. Tune in weekdays 6 to 10 a.m. to Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods.
48's the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. Off we go to the icebox where Frank Gambino is waiting by. Okay, Frank, according to Wyoming Public Media, University of Wyoming track and field athlete is set to join the U.S. national bobsled team.
Oh, I didn't read that. That's cool.
Yeah.
Because you think that the bobsleds are, are driving this thing down the course.
Not even driving, you hang on.
Well, you hang on. Yeah. Well, you got to steer it a little. You have to steer it. But the trick to the bobsled is that the start.
Yeah.
So there have been track athletes in the past for the Olympics that are not really bobsled guys, but they're track guys. And they push that sled as fast as they can for the first, whatever it is, 100 yards, and then go. Good for him. That's cool.
Her, actually.
Good for her.
Sadie McCullen used last year NCAA eligibility to get her master's degree in biomechanics.
Whoa.
And a couple of Wyoming, one more time. Okay. And let me see. Oh, it's not just that. I'm looking at some of the things they have for how they train and so on. It looks like, they have a lot of pictures of 2 people on this team. And it also has a lot to do with how they lean into it in turn, and one of these people is occasionally braking.
Right. So they have a 2-person bobsled and a 4-person bobsled.
Okay.
So they get in there literally on the guy who's the driver, they're pushing.
Right.
The driver gets in, now he's going to steer, and everyone else just puts their head down.
Yeah.
For aerodynamics.
Right. Well, now,
and they're going, they're going 80 miles an hour.
God, yeah, really fast. And that's one of those things that I look at and I think, it is really fun to watch you guys. And that's all I'm doing, because I would not get in one of and I've done some pretty brave things. I'm not doing that. That's crazy.
You think it looks fun until you're on the side.
Yeah.
And you're going down the track, not on your rails.
Yes.
But almost on your ear.
Have we ever had anyone wipe out and have an accident during the Olympics on that?
I'm sure there have. They have.
Okay.
I saw some of it at the Salt Lake Olympics, and I only saw the tops of their helmets because it was like this.
Yeah.
And everybody rings bells when they go by. And then all you saw was the top of their helmet. They're going 80 miles an hour.
God.
That's it.
Okay.
It's almost like it's kind of better to watch it on TV because you see everything.
Oh, yeah. How long does a run typically last?
Probably not even 90 seconds, maybe.
Oh, wow.
Maybe a lot less than that.
90 seconds and you got yourself a gold. Yeah, okay.
There you go. NFL from yesterday, the Denver Broncos secured their first winning season since 2016. Where have they been all this time? With a 31-13 win over Indianapolis, the Bronco offense barely functional. However, quarterback Bo Nix threw for 130 yards and 3 interceptions and did throw 3 TD passes. Bronco defense was sharp. Nick Benito picked off a lateral on a double pass trick play and returned it for a touchdown. Great play by the Broncos. A terrible play for the Colts. Denver is 9-5, and they control their own destiny for the playoffs, and they'll meet Tennessee this week. Meanwhile, former Wyoming Cowboy star and Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen continues his stellar play with probably an MVP season. As the Bills beat Detroit 48-42, the Lions have won their last 9 in a row, and the Bills are 11-3. Allen threw for 362 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He also ran for 68 and 2 more TDs. What more can this guy do? He's the best player in pro football right now. Women's college basketball, the Wyoming Cowgirls will have a road game tomorrow at Creighton and Omaha. Back yesterday, the Cowgirls destroyed South Dakota 79-45 in Vermillion to get to 5-5 on the year. Allison Fertig led the way for the Cowgirls with 17, and South Dakota was brutal in that game, shooting just 25% from the field. The Wyoming Cowboy basketball team was overwhelmed by BYU on Saturday in Salt Lake City, 68-49. Obi Eggman had 21 for the Pokes, but Kobe Newton and Dante Allen went and combined 2 of 14 from the field. The Cowboys attempted 24 three-pointers and made just a half dozen. They'll host Bellarmine University from Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday. National Finals Rodeo did conclude on Saturday in Las Vegas, and the Saddle Bronc Hillsdale native and Cheyenne East High School grad Brody Crest finished 5th in the world standings with over $345,000 in earnings. He picked up $20,000 in the 10th round, and the final round on Saturday with an 89. He also won the 7th round. Also in the Saddle Bronc, Powell's Brody Wells took 10th in the world standings with over $230,000 in earnings. In his NFR debut, he won the 2nd round and the 5th round too. And the bareback Cole Reiner out of Buffalo hit the pay window 3 times in the finals. He finished 10th in the world standings of the bareback. Weston Timmerman, who was born in Casper and is the nephew of Mills native and former world champion Kelly Timmerman, finished 4th in the average of the NFR and earned $40,000 just for that. Plus, he earned the money in 6 of 10 rounds. Incredible. He finished 7th in the world standings with over $292,000 in earnings. So that's in sports.
I would really love to be able to say, and by the way, Glenn Woods and Frank Gambino each won like $60,000 because and then we did something stupid. I don't know. But it never happens that way.
No, they're not going to pay us for being stupid. No, actually they do.
Why not?
Actually they do. But we're not going to make that kind of money unless it's something incredible.
See, which
we don't.
Okay, this is a political talk show I do. I spend 4 hours a day, 5 days a week, talking about people making a lot of money being stupid.
Oh.
They can do it.
Oh, is there a lot to talk about?
Yes. I think they're also dishonest. That's where we have a problem. All right. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local business we have to take care of. We'll roll into news time after that. National local update on the weather forecast. Wake Up Wyoming. Six at a time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It's a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods. I'm back from vacation.
Today's show is sponsored by Osculation Rejuvenation for when it hits the fan.
As I've been saying all morning long, it just depends on which side of the fan you're standing on.
Warning, this show contains reference to guns, liberty, limited government, low taxation, the cult of climate change, free thinking, cigar smoking, short people, rubber chickens, Karen's bureaucracy, liberal buzzwords, tour runs, traffic, toilets, terrible jokes, and more. No apologies will be issued. Guest callers may express any opinion they want without fear of being canceled. Unless you're a loudmouth jerk like Dave, then Glenn will hang up on you. Strap in, hold on to your coffee, and feel free to participate.
This disclaimer does not refer to every person named Dave, just one particular Dave from San Francisco. We know a lot of Daves. They call this show all the time, and they're great people. So don't call this program and complain that we use your name. That would be a real Dave move, Dave.
Let's see. So far this morning, I started off with the drone problem. You've heard these stories. And the drone problem, as far as I'm concerned, is easily solved. You notice Wyoming, which has more guns per person per capita than any other state, and we do not have a drone problem. Huh? States that have a lot of really strict gun laws, they have drone problems. Coincidence? I think not. I don't recall hearing that Texas had a drone problem. Did you? I didn't think so. Okay. Well, Texas is a very gun-friendly state. You're allowed to own guns in Texas. But when you're in a state like New Jersey, New York, where they're having drone problems, well, they don't have as many guns. Which means the neighbors are not just going to go out and start shooting up into the air. So there's that problem. All right, now, we solved that. Also, had a story earlier this morning that had to do with a strip club opening up in Casper, Wyoming. Congratulations, Casper. You're one up on Cheyenne because Cheyenne lost the green door. And then there's a couple of others. Let me see. There was Rosette, Wyoming, lost their strip club. Casper actually had a club north of Casper, Wyoming, and a club in Casper, Wyoming that are gone, but now they got a new strip club back. And if you're wondering why I know where all the strip clubs are, because I read it in an article, okay? Don't look at your radio that way. That's all. That's the only reason I know. So, congratulations, Casper, Wyoming, on your brand new strip club. Those are just some of the stories that I covered really early this morning. Now, on that note, so I monitor a lot of different former news sites. Some of these are really good. Some of these are worth it. And some sites, this is actually kind of funny to me, some of these sites that I monitor are sites that monitor other sites. So, for example, this is one called the College Fix. What the College Fix does is it monitors colleges and then reports. And so I monitor them. Isn't that funny how that works? Headline, Cornell University, pole dancing club hosts training for trans and plus-size students. As long as, look, as long as we're getting a new strip club in Wyoming, might as well do this. A pole dancing club at Cornell University, funded partially by student fees, is working to break barriers and address what its leaders describe as misconceptions and stereotypes about their activities. I don't think anybody misunderstands what their activities are, but okay. To that end, the Cornell student group called the Pole Posse recently hosted a workshop for trans, non-binary, and plus-size dancers, according to the Cornell Sun. That's their paper there. Pole Posse did not respond to requests for comment from the College Fix. Quote, people think the pole is for a very narrow group of people. I'm going to read that again, and I'll let you write your own jokes. People think that a pole is for a very narrow group of people. Insert your jokes there. A lot of people assume that men can't do the pole or that it's only a woman's sport. That's not true. The group of the social group here told the student newspaper. They say, we do a lot of different kinds of events in hopes of being able to expand the show and show people that the pole is not just one thing. There's a lot you can do. The group, I'm sure you can, especially with a talented young lady who's trying to strip her way through college. But okay. The group recently hosted a showcase December 7th called Pride, Prejudice, and Pole. This is what's going on at your universities, by the way. It was inside a vulnerable campus. Oh, my God. They held it inside a campus ballroom. The group described it online as classic literature-themed pole dancing showcase funded by Student Activities, the Funding Commission. So the Student Activities Funding Commission paid for this. They can't do it for free? Well, do it for tips, like other pole dancers do. Anyway, the Cornell Sun article also highlighted Posse's commitment to honor the multitudes of expressions within pole dancing, though through diversity initiatives. Quote, we do not tolerate body shaming, the ability shaming, or gender discrimination. So, again, I can read on. You get the idea. This is what happens at some universities, which is why I've said for many years, when you get ready to send your kid to university, stop for a moment, take some time. Forget the literature that they send you, because they send you nice literature about the university, and they always show kids, somebody's got to be sitting under a tree on the campus reading a book. They always got to do that. or the tablet, whatever they're showing these days. But they always show these really well-dressed, well-mannered kids. They don't show the indoctrination. They don't show garbage like this. And by the way, this is not a class. Again, this is a club that's allowed. I wonder, Cornell University, if someone, I don't know, I'm asking, if someone wanted to start a Christian faith-based club, would that be okay? Okay. What about a gun rights club? Would that be allowed? Okay, just curious. But I would watch out for stuff like this before sending your kid, because there are some, if you're a parent, you know, there's some very impressionable ages. And one of those very impressionable ages is right around the college years, which is one of the reasons why so many of these liberal socialist college professors salivate at getting your kids during that time and work so hard to indoctrinate them while they have them living on campus. And so there's certain things you got to look out for. And one of them is, oh, look, there's a club that does pole dancing. Oh, and they try to say, well, you don't understand what it really is. Well, especially after what I just read, I think everybody pretty much gets it. Just be very careful about where you send your kids.
You know, if you think about it, your belly button is basically just a scar that you got in a knife fight with a guy in a mask after being evicted from your first place.
Well, that image is going to stick with you all day. Sure, this show is sustainable. We sequester all gas emissions to one room. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods, live on AM 1030 and FM 95.1, weekdays at 6.
In case you didn't hear, Time Magazine, yes, there is still a Time Magazine out there. I'm sure most people read it online now, but you can still get a physical Time Magazine in print form. I used to love that magazine. And then over the years, for the same reason, I lost faith in so many other media outlets, I just quit reading it. But one thing they've remained faithful to, when it comes time to pick their person of the year, whether they like it or not, they pick the person who is most influential. So there was one year, let's go way back, where they picked Yasser Arafat, you remember who he is, as person of the year. And there were folks that were outraged. How could you pick him as person? Well, at the time, who was the person who was most, good or bad, doesn't matter, most influential on the world stage? And at the time, Yasser Arafat was shaking up the world. So he's the person of the year. It is not to praise the person or belittle them or anything. It's just this is the most influential person of the year. This year, they chose Donald Trump. Sorry, hang on. That's just Liz Cheney reacting to that. Sorry about that. And that's been the reaction of many out there. In fact, let me see. Let me back up a little bit over here to, headline, liberals cancel subscriptions to Time Magazine in record number. Yeah. After he was picked as person of the year, the number of people who have just dropped, just like they dropped MSNBC, the number of people who have dropped Time Magazine, and their readership was already at an all-time low, because they just couldn't stand, how could you pick Donald Trump as person of the year? You can love him, you can hate him, it doesn't matter. Who was the person who was most influential on the world stage this year? Well, it was, like it or not, Donald Trump.
Do you suffer from feelings of entitlement, self-righteousness, and arrogance? Fits of resentment, anger, and hypocrisy? Terror that the world is going to end? Or even worse, that the world isn't going to end and that things are going to get better? A deep need to point fingers, deflect, or deny, uncontrollable stress, frustration, or depression, fear of recession, fear of no recession, then you may have PTDS, or President Trump Derangement Syndrome. Fortunately, there's new Magotol, the proven cure for PTDS. Just one Magotol a day realigns your sensibilities by bypassing erratic brain signals to amplify the logic receptors. Talk to your Obamacare doctor today to see if Magotol is right for you. Recommended dose of reality is at least once daily. Warning snowflakes. Side effects may include optimism, hope for the future, good feelings about your country, accepting economic prosperity, renewed faith in capitalism, and admitting that things aren't so bad under Trump. If you discover you're allergic to common sense, stop use immediately and contact your doctor. Relax. Breathe. It's Magotol from the makers of Triggerol.
Smalls and Casper's Bravo Time magazine. Well, what got me, Smalls, was I was watching the press conference where Time magazine was being interviewed by some television host. I didn't know who that was. And was asked, okay, who's the person of the year? And it seemed like the editor of Time magazine just couldn't bear to say it, but he managed to get it out. It's Donald Trump. Well, at least they're being honest. They may not like it, but they're being honest in the sense that Time magazine's person of the year is the person who is most influential on the world stage, whether you like that person or not. So there you go. There's your person of the year. But now, Time magazine's readership just went down the toilet. For the same reason that MSNBC and CNN and other different newspapers and magazines. In fact, there's a few newspapers out there. LA Times is one, and Washington Post is another one. They're doing all they can to try to bring in some balance to their news. Their readership is so in the toilet. And then with the election of Trump and Republicans across the country, that they've decided that if they want to stay in business, they've got to do something different. And so they're trying to bring some balance back to the news media. And I hope that they succeed at that. I would like to see them succeed because we've gone left in news media to the point that eventually we've got to get some kind of balance. And hopefully we'll see. We'll see if this does it or not. If it does it, they go out of business. Morning, Milo and Fort Danger. I think that all these outlets are afraid of Trump and what he might do. Yeah. Well, especially because, Milo, they are the ones who said that Trump is Hitler and there'll never be another election. And these news outlets predicted all sorts of horrible things. And yet those things aren't happening. And that's where they've also lost a lot of their readers and viewers is, what happened to all these horrible things that you said were going to happen and they still haven't happened? Well, okay, I really do think that they are afraid of Trump for a lot of reasons. And maybe partly because they even believe their own rhetoric. Yeah. All right, change the topic here. This I thought was a good one. Doug, our man in Cheyenne, Doug, says there's a bill to ban cell phones in our schools in Wyoming. A bill has been filed. Our Wyoming legislative session is not very far away. And already bills are being offered up. Now, a bill being offered up, it's a long way to go before it actually becomes a law or is passed at least and put in front of the governor. Here's the story. A bill that would order Wyoming school districts to develop policies against cell phones and smartwatches in class has been filed for the 2025 Wyoming legislative session. You can read Senate File 21. Senate File 21. Go to the story we have on the Wake Up Wyoming site. That's one place to find it. And you can click on the link or just go to your browser and type in Wyoming Legislative Senate File 21. Make sure it's for 2024 legislative session. You can read it there. Sponsored by Senator Wendy Schruler, Republican, Uinta County. The bill would include exemptions for certain situations, including emergencies for students with medical conditions. Such a ban would hardly be unprecedented, the story says. According to Education Week, Florida became the first state to ban students from using cell phones during the classroom hours. Now, what I want to know is, does that mean that they can't have the cell phone with them in the classroom, because if I were a kid in today's modern, or if I had a kid, let's say, in school in today's modern age, in high school, I would be okay with them carrying a cell phone in because I would want it in case of emergencies, even during class emergencies. So I don't think they should have to keep it in their locker, but I do think they should keep it in their book bag, for the ladies in their purse, something like that. That way, in case there's ever an emergency, they have it on them. Other than that, they should keep it off their desks and in do not disturb mode. I think that would be reasonable so they can focus on what's happening in class. All right, coming up on local news. Update on your weather forecast after that. It's Wake Up Wyoming.
Glenn Woods. He talks to you, not at you. Be part of the show at 888-97-WOODS. This is Wake Up Wyoming on K2 Radio.
9:36 the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming. It is a Monday. My name is Glenn Woods. I'm back from vacation. So, I did see it, Chet. Chet and Yoder sent me a note saying that Trump is talking and he went off to watch it. And I wanted to watch it too. Well, listen to it. It's on the ridiculously large television they put in my studio here. And this is a channel that I keep on. It's Fox News Raw, live Raw. And what it is just a channel where if something's happening, they just have their cameras there and they just show it. Occasionally there's an interview. Now and then you see a reporter. But mostly it's just, well, something's happening and we have our cameras there and we get to just watch it without any commentary, which is what I like. It's what I want. I want to see what's going on. So Trump is talking. He's at Mar-a-Lago. He's talking to the press. And I cannot wait to hear how the press misrepresents what he's about to say, and the Democrats. So, pardon me. Sorry. When I came back from Florida, on Friday I started feeling, and I realized I was getting sick, and so I spent my entire trip coming home and Sunday in bed. So I'm feeling much better now, but I'm still, you wouldn't believe how many tissues I went through during the course of this show when the mic was off. You don't want the details. Anyway, so Trump is talking, and here's what he's going on about. He's going to keep his promise when he gets into office. I mean, right away, immediately. We need to start lowering taxes. And yes, on the average person, but also on big companies. Now, you're going to hear this. It's tax cuts for the rich. Well, hang on. America, when it comes to corporations, America taxes big corporations higher than any other country. And then we regulate the hell out of those corporations, and regulations cost a ton of money too. So what Trump is saying he's going to do, companies that are worth a lot of money, I mean, billion-dollar companies, if they bring their business back to the U.S., he will cut their taxes down to an estimated 15%, rather than the 44 or 40-some% that they would pay now. He also wants to greatly reduce regulations. But they're not going to get those tax breaks unless they come back to America. So bring your company back to America, and your taxes in America will be lowered below most other countries. And same with regulations. Now, that would cause companies to come rushing back to America to do business. And do business in all sorts of ways, including manufacturing, but in all sorts of other ways. Now, this will be sold, I'm sure, as to the general public by the Democrats. It's another tax cuts for the rich. But listen to what he's saying. Big companies are not just going to get tax cuts. You have to come back to America to get the tax cuts. You have to do business here, not overseas. This is a great idea, along with the regulatory cuts as well. that would, remember last time Trump was president, I remember as he was coming into office, he said he was going to bring manufacturing back to America. And even Obama was saying, well, what do you expect? These companies are gone. They're not coming back. What does he think he's going to do to bring them back? Well, Trump brought them back. And he brought them back because as a businessman, he understands why they left. And they left because they were being overtaxed and overregulated. So he brought the taxes and regulations back to something that was reasonable again. And those companies came back. He's doing it again with this idea, which is a great idea. He also had, and I didn't get to hear it, there was a Japanese businessman that wants to bring $100 billion back to America, and he's doing it because of Trump. This is, a company manufacturing things like this. So he's not even in office yet, and take a look at what's happening here. Now, I did have a story I didn't get to this morning. I'll call it up real quick in my notes here. There is a story about big retail giants that are having a hard time. Some of them will be closing their doors, going out of business, and it's because of what was going on in 2024. Here we go. The story says, U.S. retailers have announced more than 7,100 stores closing through the end of November 2024, a 69% jump from the same time last year, according to recent data. That comes as 45 retailers have filed for bankruptcy protection so far this year, compared with 25 retail bankruptcies in all of 2023. And that was during, that's Bidenomics for you. That's the Biden years. That's Bidenomics for you. Take that in comparison to, hey, we're going to take any company that comes back to America to do business back in America, and as a thank you for coming back to do business in America, we'll lower their taxes and lower regulations. Now, which do you think is a better strategy? The administration that continued to raise taxes and raise regulations, or the one who's trying to get taxes and regulations out of the way so companies can do business? Yeah. Basic economics 101 and basic common sense 101.
This program is intended for immature audiences only. Wake Up Wyoming with Glenn Woods. Weekdays at 6 on air, on Alexa, and 24/7 on the Wake Up Wyoming app.
9:48 is the time. It's Wake Up Wyoming off. We go to the icebox. Frank Gambino is waiting by. So, Frank, I love it when a business comes up with a creative name for the business that just is memorable.
Yeah, I saw a place that there was like a dog care center.
Yeah.
In Oregon somewhere. It was called Barking Lot.
Well, there you go. See, I like these people.
Yeah.
Here are a bunch of people. They take care of your septic.
Okay.
So there's one in the mountains of North Carolina. You've heard of the soft drink Mountain Dew.
Mm-hmm.
They have the same exact font, but it says Mountain Poo. See?
Does Mountain Dew have anything to say about that?
No, they don't seem to care at all.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's a guy from Texas. There's a cowboy with a rope, and it looks like a bunch of scared little turds around him, and it says the Turd Herder.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
There you go.
This one, similar idea, but this guy is wearing a mask. On the side of the truck is a painting of him. The Turd Burglar.
The Turd Burglar.
Yeah. So I guess he comes in and steals your crap. I don't know. I just, okay.
Everybody funny.
Yeah,
You're
okay.
funny too.
This one is another one. And this is it. The truck looks like a can of soda. And it's the same exact font. It's not Dr. Pepper, it's Dr. Pumper.
Pumper.
Yes.
Or Dr. Pooper.
Yes. That would have been a good one too.
Yeah.
Now I really like this one. It's a pink truck. And it's called Stinky Pinky Septic Service.
Stinky Pinky.
See?
Stinky Pinky.
Yeah.
There's only sticking their pinky in the stinky.
Right. Now this one, it's Smitty's septic service. But the way the font reads, it almost sounds like it looks like something else.
Okay.
Yeah. See, again, I really enjoy this stuff here. What's it? Home of the... No, I can't quite read that one. Okay. Oh, here's one. Guy looks like a superhero. Sewer man. Not as funny. Okay. But he's trying anyway. Let's see. Droopies. I don't know. That's not as good. Let me see. Oh, this is just disgusting. Suck it up septic service.
Well, it's accurate.
Yeah, it's accurate. Let me see. Hog Wild. I think these are getting less creative as I go, though. But there is one, though. It's a truck with on the front of it, that poop emoji?
Yeah.
That's basically the hood ornament, and it's really big.
Oh, there you go. Okay.
Yeah, let's see.
That works.
This is good. This is good. One last one for you. Black Gold.
Texas Tea.
Black Gold Septic Service, if that's what you want to call it.
Yep. All right, there you go. Well, the National Finals Rodeo concluded in Las Vegas over the weekend. In the Saddle Rock event, Hillsdale native and Cheyenne East High School grad Brody Crest finished 5th in the world standings with over $345K in earnings. He picked up $20,000 in the 10th and final round on Saturday with an 89 and also won the 7th round. Also in the Saddle Rock, Powell's Brody Wells took 10th in the world standings with over $230K in earnings. In his NFR debut, he won the 2nd round and the 5th round. In the bareback, Cole Reiner out of Buffalo hit the pay window 3 times in the finals, finished 10th in the world standings. Weston Timmerman, born in Casper, and is the nephew of Mills native and former world champion Kelly Timmerman, placed 4th in the average of the NFR and earned $40,000 for that, plus a year money in 6 of 10 rounds. Timmerman finished 7th in the world standings with over $292,000 in earnings. National Football League from yesterday, the Denver Broncos secured their first winning season since 2016. Boy, it's been a while. With a 31-13 win over Indianapolis, the Bronco offense barely functional. However, quarterback Bo Nix threw 3 touchdown passes. He also threw 3 picks. And the Bronco defense was sharp. Nick Benito picked off a lateral on a double pass trick play and returned it for a touchdown. Great play by the Broncos. A horrible play for the Colts. Denver 9-5, and they control their own destiny for the playoffs, and they'll meet Tennessee this week. Meanwhile, former Wyoming Cowboy star and Buffalo Bills quarterback Josh Allen continued his MVP-type season with a stellar game as the Bills beat Detroit 48-42 yesterday. The Lions had won 9 in a row. The Bills now are 11-3. Allen threw for 362 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he ran for 68 yards and 2 rushing TDs. What more can this guy do? He's the best player in pro football right now. Women's college hoops from yesterday. The Wyoming Cowgirls pounded South Dakota in Vermilion 79-45, so they're 5-5 on the year. Allison Fertig led the way for the Cowgirls with 17. South Dakota was awful in the game, shooting 25%, and UWB at Creighton tomorrow in Omaha. And the Wyoming Cowboy basketball team overwhelmed by BYU on Saturday in Salt Lake City, 68-49. Obi Eggman at 21 for the Pokes, but Kobe Newton and Dante Allen win a combined 2 of 14 from the field. The Cowboys attempted 24 threes and made just 6. They will host Bellarmine University from Louisville, Kentucky on Thursday. That's it in sports.
So let's take a look at UW, not just football, overall their sports. How are they doing?
Well, so far, basketball is for men and women. They've had their good moments and they've had their bad moments. Right. So they're not a bad team.
Right.
But they're not great teams.
Right.
But we're not even at January 1 yet.
Okay.
I judge teams by about February the 1st.
I gotcha. Okay.
Give or take. It's all right. They should know what their identities are by then.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I'm thinking.
So should we.
Just overall, like even golf and everything.
They hold their own.
Okay.
Not bad.
Okay.
Not great. But they hold their own.
Okay. Or as somebody used to, I think this is less. Someone used to say of me, I almost don't suck. But I think you're saying they're better than that.
Yeah, there was a Chicago Cubs manager years ago on T-shirts that says, try not to suck.
Yeah, that's it. Usually. That's a good strategy for life.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Frank. Coming up on some local news and business time. Let's Wake Up Wyoming.